what's up? Arthur here, and welcome to a new Black Ops 3 video. Now, in this one, we're going to take a look at what is apparently the new God Gun in Black Ops 3. And of course, as you can tell by the title, that's apparently the KN-44. Anyway, in this video, I'm simply going to give you a pretty solid setup for this weapon. But first off, we're going to take a look at the attachments, and then the perks, and so on and so forth. And then, obviously, I would like you to try out this setup, and then let me know afterwards whether or not the KN-44 is indeed better or worse than it was before, and whether or not you think it is in fact the new God Gun. Anyway, with that being said, this right here is the setup that we're going to take a look at. For starters, we of course have the ELO sights. Now, this is going to make this weapon a little bit easier to use at medium to long range. Obviously, the KN-44's strong suit is medium range. In those situations, you don't necessarily need a red dot sight or an ELO sight. But when it comes down to long range engagements, this thing can definitely help you out quite a bit. Next up, of course, as always, we have the quick draw grip, which is simply going to allow you to zoom in a little bit faster. Obviously, in terms of Call of Duty, getting a kill usually takes about 200 to 300 milliseconds. And since this one allows you to zoom in a little bit faster, obviously, if you manage to hit your opponent before he hits you, you're most likely going to win that gunfight. So that's why I tend to use the quick draw grip, I want to say about 95% of the time. Next up, we also have the regular grip. It's going to reduce your recoil by a little bit. If I'm not mistaken, it's either like 6 or 9%, like I've said in many videos before. I actually haven't watched too many in-depth videos this year, so quite frankly, I'm not too sure. Simply correct me if I'm wrong. But obviously, the grip is going to make this weapon even more deadly at medium to long range. And then finally, we also have the adjustable stock. Now, the main reason I use the stock is simply because my accuracy isn't what it used to be. I think it's about 20 to 25% nowadays, which still isn't too bad, but it's definitely not great either. But basically, I personally find it a lot easier to stay on target at medium to long range by simply strafing from the left to the right than it is for me to stay on target but actually aiming precisely. So that's the main reason why I personally use the stock. Obviously, it also makes sure that you're a little bit of a harder target to hit at close range, just because in this case you are moving just a little bit faster than you normally do, instead of simply standing still. And a little tip I can give you as well, instead of running into a building, I would recommend you to aim down the sides and then walk in like that, because in that case you actually stand a chance if there's someone sitting and waiting for you. Anyway, so next up we have Overclock. This is a perk that I started using quite a bit recently. It basically allows you to earn your specialist weapon or your specialist ability a little bit faster. Now, personally, I've been using Overdrive quite a bit recently. Vision Pulse is also a really good one. Obviously, the Spektrem with the Ripper is pretty good. The Tempest is pretty good. There are obviously quite a few weapons and quite a few abilities that are actually really good. And this perk allows you to earn them a little bit faster. And then finally, as always, we have Hardwired and also Fast Hands. First off, Hardwired is my go-to perk in Black Ops 3. It's super versatile. It first off makes sure you're immune to counter UAVs, power cores, EMP grenades, and also smoke screens. It also makes sure you don't trigger trip mines, shock charges, and C4 alarms. And then on top of that, it also reduces the effects of Tracker, and it completely annihilates the effects of Sixth Sense. So this one is pretty good. And then finally we have Fast Hands, which is really only a good perk if you tend to zoom in a lot, because Fast Hands actually allows you to zoom in faster after you're done sprinting. In fact, it cuts the time it takes you to zoom in half, which is definitely pretty good. And obviously it also allows you to switch between weapons a little bit faster. But personally, I rarely use the secondary, and I practically never use the overkill wildcard, so that's not too beneficial for me. And then finally, in terms of my score streaks, it doesn't really matter too much. You can use whatever streaks you like, but in this case I was using the UAV, the Lightning Strike, and then finally the Hellstorm Missile. I'm not too sure if they buffed these streaks, but the Hellstorm Missile nowadays is actually a really good one. I tend to get 3-piece and 4-pieces pretty often, so once again, give this one a go. Anyway, with that being said, let me know in the comments down below whether or not you think the KN-44 is in fact the new God Gun. I personally think that this is not the case, just because the KN-44 has been somewhat decent ever since this game first came out. And yes, it is a little bit better at medium range nowadays, but it's definitely not a whole lot better than any of the other assault rifles in this game. Personally, I think the weapons in Black Ops 3 are actually really balanced. Anyway, with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, some support, a like rating would be very much appreciated. If not, that's cool. Of course, if you want to, you can also follow me on Twitter, or Facebook, or Instagram. You can find all those links in the description. And then finally, as always, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for the continued support. And I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy.